My name is Michele, and I'm born and raised in Paia on the island of Maui. I'm the youngest of 4 children. I grew up very sheltered, and the one thing that rings constantly in my mind is always hearing my dad say, "Don't ever shame your name." It's the one thing that we have is our name. Once you dirty your name, that's it. No going back. I went to a parochial school half my life. We were involved in a lot of activities. Sports, I was a sports fanatic, played everything and anything that I could. And I remember being 3 years old. I have a brother above me and 2 sisters above him. And, we used to take a bath together, and I used to tell my mom, "How come I no more that thing?" Like, I really wanted to be a boy. I always played sports with boys, was very aggressive. And then I came into the other part of my life where went to high school and ended up in a relationship, and it changed me. And I allowed that time of my life to define who I was. I no longer had a voice. I no longer had a choice. And I remember my mom. My mom would always say, "Where's your dignity? Where's your self-respect? Where's my baby?" I had my first child when I was 18. When I graduated from high school, I was 4 months pregnant. By the time I was 19 years old, I had 2 children. And I was broken. I had an opportunity at 20 to go to a bar, a club. I never really had alcohol or drugs or anything. I was too fearful of that because I was more afraid of my parents than I was of the cops. It's just, yeah. And when you see uncle or auntie, it's like, "Oh shit, auntie over there." Because they're going to tell. And I didn't even have to wait till I go home. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be in trouble. I know I'm going to be in trouble." But I didn't care. And I got drunk that night. And I loved it. I was a happy drunk, so it was okay, right? By the time I was 21 years old, I was a full-blown alcoholic, and then I was introduced to cocaine at 24 years old. At 25 years old, I was introduced to crystal meth, and I was a full-blown addict within a month. I was searching, and I think you'll hear that common theme for a lot of people is searching for what I don't know. Till today, I stopped trying to figure that out. But I remember I was doing my thing, and we used to listen to Scanners, yeah? And I heard my dad, "If my daughter no come home, somebody gonna get hurt." The next night I went home and I thought I was going to be the one to get hurt. And I remember because I went missing for a couple of weeks. I just was using meth. And I remember having to go home and admit to my mom that I was a drug addict. And I remember her falling to the ground and saying, "Not you, not my baby." And then I left, and I remember that look in my father's eyes and my mother. In the absence of words, what I felt was devastating because that's not how I was raised. But you know, drug addiction is so all too consuming. And I ended up committing crime, and I hurt a family who I grew up in, the family of my children. And then I went on the run because I knew I was going to get in trouble. And the whole time I remember, I wasn't scared of the cops. I was scared of how I was going to tell my family that I brought shame on our name. But then I had nowhere to go. You know, when you're using drugs, you lose everything. And to me, it didn't matter. I didn't have the house, the car. You know, I had a car, but I was sleeping in it, but that didn't matter. What mattered to me was that I didn't have my children, because at this point I had 3 kids already. And my baby was 7 months, and I remember the detective coming and knocking on the door. And I knew this was it. And then I had to tell my family. And I remember that look in my mom's eyes. And I remember her saying, "What happened?" "We didn't raise you like this." Then I went on the run again. And you can only run so long, for so long. Because what I missed was my mom. I missed that safety of her. So when I was homeless and living in my car, I stayed in my hometown, near home. And my baby was less than 2 years old. Got a call and somebody wanted some stuff, so I said, "Okay, you meet me here, but bring me one Happy Meal when you come." Did my thing, and I remember looking at my baby eating his Happy Meal and thinking, I wasn't raised like this. So the very next day, I took him to my mom and I said, "Mom, I cannot take care of my baby." And she said, "Okay." And I left. My 2 older children were with their dad. And I went on the run again. And the person I was with, I said, "If I have to sleep in my car one more night, bad things going to happen." And then I ended up on the doorstep at a house. And I met this person who I didn't know, took me in, fed me, clothed me. And I started laughing again. I was still using drugs. But I started to come to life. And I was still on the run. And I missed my family. I missed my family so much that I knew that if I wanted any kind of life, that I had to stop doing what I was doing. And the person that I was with, who was breathing that life into me, was telling me the same things. One day I was driving, still on the run. At this point I was going in and out of jail on the same charge. I think I was on my 4th run already. cops pulled up behind, and I surrendered. I put my hands up and I said, I have a warrant. I had been at this time on the run for a year. As I was driving in the police car, they were always really nice to me. I never looked like this. I was really skinny, like really skinny. But they would always let me put the handcuffs in the front. And I was arrested right above the road from my house. And I remember sitting in the police car and watching my mom drive by. I saw her glance, but when we talked about it, she said she didn't know it was me, but she remembered that time, and she remembered thinking, I hope that's my daughter. Because every time I was in jail, she would say that she knew I was safe. Even though she knew that bad things happened in jail, she knew I was safe. December 2nd, 1999. I turned myself in. The judge gave me a week to get myself into treatment. I said, yeah, I can do that. But all the other times, I never did. Went to jail. And you ever tell yourself, you remember looking back and you tell yourself, oh, that's not going to happen to me. Well, it happened to me. I got up from a 3-day sleeper. I used meth that whole week. I got up to a woman on top of me. And she was laughing. I was on the ground because the jail at Maui was, over capacity. So I'm sleeping on a 1-inch mat. My pillow was maybe 1/2 inch. So basically I'm sleeping on the floor and here's a woman on top of me. And we'd done some time together and she's laughing and I said, what the hell? And it was a moment of clarity when everybody went out to have breakfast. I hit my knees and I said, I'm done. All the foxhole prayers I said before, where I was going to get my life back together, it never happened. Every time I was released from jail, I went straight to the drug dealer's house. But this time, I knew no more. Hit my knees and I said I was done. A couple days later, I knew my body was changing. Did a pregnancy test. And I was pregnant. Through all of that, I just got that 1 minute. That baby is with me tonight. That man is here tonight. More importantly, the reason why I share my story is when I was asked to do this, I was in the process of losing my dad. When I put it all together, and I realized the power of love, and Ohana, and your parents. In August, I was taking that baby, August 2014, I was taking that baby that was eating that Happy Meal to college in Arizona, and I got a call, your mom fell, and we can't figure out what's going on. In September, they said we would have my mom for 3 more months, but I had her for 3 weeks. It's when you know that everything you went through in your life was to prepare you for what you think was to prepare you for what you were going through. I didn't know. But I know that the almost 15 years that I had clean and sober, and the 14 years that I didn't have to go to jail anymore, my mom could rest easy knowing that I didn't have to do that anymore. So when she left messages for everybody and didn't leave one for me, I thought, oh, wow, she never leave one for me. But I got it, because I lived the best years of my life with the rest of hers. Her last wish was that I take care of my father. Don't leave him alone. So when we laid her to rest on November 14th, November 15, 2014. On November 16th, I stayed home with my dad. I never came back to Oahu to pack my things and go home. My husband allowed me to stay with my dad for the 4 years, 5 months, and 3 days to when I lost my dad. I was able to spend the best of my years with the last of his. I lost him on March 25th of this year. The gift of love, sobriety, and life that I was able to give to my parents came full circle. They left this earth knowing that I'm not going to use drugs. I'm not going to drink alcohol. And I sure as heck not going to prison, because I still got to deal with the prison that's in here. But I thank God every day that I have a man who loves me, who loved me until I could love myself, because there was a time I didn't know what that was. And my daughter, who did time with me, she did time with me. She did a lot of things with me. I have 4 boys and 1 girl. Their ages range from 30 to almost 10. And the gift of life and love is so important. And I share this in honor of my parents so that they can see, because I've done a lot of things, but they've never been able to see that the drug treatment center I went to, I am now the program director of. I am who I am today because of them, because of the lessons they taught me, the prayers they said for me, the unconditional love that they gave me, and for sharing their last breath with me. Mahalo.